Man versus gun.
Hello shooters, today's episode of Man vs. Handgun is the HK VP9. HK's newest striker fired handgun, a 9mm. Let's see how it does on the Man vs. Gun spreadsheet. Okay shooters, let's check out the weight on the VP9. And the weight comes in at 1 pound, basically 1 pound 11 ounces, because we always round up a little bit. 1 pound 11 ounces. Let's see how that stacks up against the standard, which is the Glock 17. They're identical in weight, so that's a good thing. The weight's identical to the Glock 17. That puts it amongst the lightest of the bunch. The width comes in at 1.285 at the slide stop, 1.285. So I got a 4 for weight and I got a 4 for width. So it's pretty thin and it's pretty light. It's perfect for a duty size gun. It also works really well for a concealed carry gun. I gave it it gets a 5 for duty gun. I gave it a 4 for a carry gun because it is, it is what would be considered a full size service handgun, but it's also concealable. It gets a 0 for being a pocket gun. It's way too big to be a pocket gun. The receiver is plastic, so it gets a minimum of a 3 there because that means it's light and it stays cool, whether it's hot or whether it's cold. It doesn't get as hot or cold to the touch as metal does or aluminum. But the design of the grip, it gets a 5. This thing feels, everybody that picks it up says it feels extremely good in the hand, better than most other handguns people have felt. This thing feels so good in the hand, it almost grips your hand back. It feels so good in the hand. It comes with adjustable back straps, but the design of the back strap is superior to everything we've tested so far. So it gets a 5 for the design of the back strap, and it gets a 3 for adjustable back straps. Side panels. These side panels right here, it also comes with different side panels so that you can custom fit this thing so it fits your body, it fits your hand perfectly. Now I don't mean it fits your hand so it feels the best, I mean it fits your hand and your body so when you close your eyes and you come up on target, the sights are there, so you can really customize the way this thing fits into your hand. Trigger pull. It gets a 4 for a trigger pull. I haven't given a 5 to anything yet, but it's a nice trigger pull for a polymer handgun. There's some take up there, then you hit the wall, and then there's just a hint of creep before it goes, but it's not quite as spongy feeling as, say, a Glock or a stock Smith & Wesson M&P. So it does have a superior trigger pull compared to Glocks and M&Ps. So it's got a good trigger pull. So I gave it a 4 because it's not a perfect trigger pull, but I gave it a 4. And then because the trigger pull is the same every time, it gets a 5, just like most other handguns would get a 5. We want the same trigger pull all the time. The magazine well is flared on all 4 sides, so it gets a 4 there. The magazine is, typical German quality. It's an excellent design magazine. The only beef I've got is that it's downloaded 2 rounds. So even though the magazine design is excellent, it's steel, it'll last longer than the handgun probably. Just joking, but it's a very strong magazine. But it's the same size as a Glock 17, it's the same size as Smith & Wesson M&P 17 round mag, but the HK only holds 15 rounds. So I gave it a little bit of a ding there. If it held 17, it would get a 5, but since it only holds 15, it gets a 4. The magazine base plate is one-handed, and the receiver's such that it is one-handed manipulation friendly, and ease of seating it gets a 5 because it goes in. There's still some play in there, which is what we want. So I got a 5 there. Magazine release. The design of the magazine release, I gave it a 4 because it's so different from what most other handguns that we're used to. Most other handguns like this Glock or an M&P, the magazine release is kind of behind the trigger guard. This one is part of the trigger guard actually, and instead of pressing a button in, it's a flapper. So it's a good design, but since it's different, I downgraded it 1. If you get a HK handgun and that's all you shoot is HK handguns, it's real easy to use your other trigger finger. Let me do that over here so you can see, to just push down on the flapper and get the mag release out. Since I do run other handguns, because I want to run handguns that my students run, so I actually treat this just like a regular magazine release on like a Glock or a Smith & Wesson M&P or an XD or whatever. I'll shift my hand and use my thumb to actuate it so that my training habits remain consistent throughout the spectrum of firearms that I use. So, but it is mirror image, which is fantastic. It gets a 5 there, and the location is a 5. Just the design is just a little bit different, so I downgrade it 1 point on the design. The safety is just like, you know, Glock, Smith & Wesson. The safety's right here inside the trigger, so it gets a 5 there. Location is a 5, and since it is the same no matter what hand you use, it gets a 5 there, so it gets good scores there. The slide catch is right here. It's in a good location. A little bit too big, so I downgraded it 1. I wished it was more M&P-ish. It does have a slide catch on both sides, but another reason I downgraded it 1 is because it has this ginormous lever along there. But it is in a good location, and it is mirror image, so it got pretty good scores there. The rear sight that comes with the HK VP9 LE model has this undercut there that is really good for one-handed slide manipulations. The best I've ever seen on a production handgun. But I don't really like the LE sights because it's slanted here, and so it catches background light. So does the front sight, and so with the LE sights, the front sight and the rear sight kind of washed out and became as one, and I couldn't get a good sight picture at speed, so I replaced them. The rear sight that comes on the non-LE model HK VP9 is horrible. It's slanted this way, and so it's made so it won't catch on anything. So depending upon which model VP9 you get, the rear sight's going to be really good one-handed manipulation friendly or really horrible one-handed manipulation friendly. Since I am testing out, since I had the LE sights on here, it gets really good marks there for one-handed manipulation. The front sight is a good design on the LE model, and it's also a pretty decent design on the non-LE model. It does come with a light rail, and it's got you know, a number of slots there, so you have some options, so it gets the highest marks there. So far, the VP9 is as close as we can get to a completely mirror image, very ergonomic handgun. But as I mentioned in the review, there's just a couple of caveats. I wish that the slide release was more like the M&P, that it was shorter. It doesn't need to be this long. The M&P nailed the slide release as being completely mirror image. Long enough but short enough so it doesn't get in the way. HK needs to take a lesson from the M&P in that regard. Get rid of that long lever there. Internalize it like Smith & Wesson did on the M&P. I would also rather see a mirror image mag release like what's on the M&P or the Glock, so it can be operated the exact same, right or left hand. But you know what? Until that becomes more of a player, then you know, this works just fine. It's just a little bit different than what we're used to. You can use either hand.
The VP9 is a soft shooting gun. It's accurate, it has low muzzle flip and low recoil. It's fun to shoot. Comes back on target really fast. It's also quite accurate. This is me shooting at a gong at 100 yards. I missed. If you hear the slap, I hit. If you don't hear the slap, I missed. I can't see the front sight like I used to be able to when I was younger. It's kind of a blob, so I'm trying to guess where the but you know what? This proves that it'll do the job if you need it to do the job. If you ever get a chance, you ought to pick one of these up and shoot it at least. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you watching my videos. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below, and I'll do my best to answer them. And until next time, have a great day.